Zion Aleph.
Yeah.
If one sinks a vine into the ground, if there is not three hand breadths of soil above it, he may not bring seeds on it, even if he sunk it into a gourd or a pipe. If he sunk it into a rock, then even if there is only three finger breadths of soil above it, it is permitted to bring seeds on it. The need of a vine is measured from the second root. If one depresses three vines and their roots are visible, Rav Elazar ben Tzadok says, if there are 4 to 8 cubits between them, they combine, but if not, they do not combine. A withered vine is forbidden, but does not render forbidden. Rav Meir says cotton is also forbidden, but does not render forbidden. Rav Elazar ben Tzadok says in his name, also above the vine it is forbidden, yet it does not render forbidden. The following forbid, but do not render forbidden: the remainder of a vineyard laid waste, the remainder of a machol of a vineyard, the remainder of gaps in the aris, and the remainder of a trellis frames, but beneath a vine, a tillage space of vine, and 4 cubits is a vineyard. These render forbidden. Okay.
Hamsakech is gafno al gabe tivu aso shel chavero. Now here comes a guy messing around with his neighbor's property. Okay, he takes his own vine and he sees that his neighbor has got wheat, and he's brothers with his neighbor, and he decides he's going to cause trouble for his neighbor, and he takes his own vine and extends it over to and so that it grows over his neighbor's field. And by the time his neighbor realizes it's grown, and now we've created Kilayim Kerem. Areza Kidesh v'chayev b'achrayuso, says the Tanna Kama. He has caused damage, and now he must pay his neighbor back. So you're going to have to uproot and burn everything in his neighbor's field, as well as his own vineyard. He's not coming away unscathed himself, because Kilei Kerim affects both of the species. Okay, and he's going to have to pay back his neighbor. Rabbi Yossi Rabbi Shimon Omrim, Ein Adam Mekadesh Davar She'ena Shelo. Person does not have the power to cause Kilei Kerim on something that's not his own property. Okay. And this actually turns out, well, Rambam Paschal Halacha like them. He said he in his statement he says that that in such a situation, the person who grew his own vine over his neighbor's wheat, his own
Yes.
vine is destroyed, but the wheat is fine. The
Right.
wheat is left
Right.
alone. So he can only damage his own property. He can't damage his neighbor's.
That'll teach him to hold a grudge.
Adultery, exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay. Why don't you tilt your screen a little bit forward, because I'm seeing just the top of your head.
I know it happens every time. I don't know. This is a new thing. I don't know why, but here we go. Okay, there we go. Better. Okay.
Yeah, that's better. Okay. Mishnah Hey. Amar Rabbi Yossi Maseh. So carrying on from this previous Mishnah, Maseh be'echad shezares karmo b'shvius. So here's a guy who during the Shemitah year, remember in the Shemitah year, the fruit is hefker. It doesn't belong to him.
Right.
So he went and he did something dumb, and he went and plow and put foreign seeds into his vineyard during the Shemitah year. ובא מעשה לפני רבי עקיבא ואמר אין אדם מקדש דבר שאינו שלו. He could not destroy the grapes.
It's not
However,
his.
it's not his. However, the grapes themselves, or the fruits, that belongs to that's hefker, and that anyone can come and take. However, the after all the fruit is gone, he's going to have to burn down his own vineyard, because the stems and everything that grew during the Shemitah year, and now he's got to kill a kerem. He's got to destroy the kerem. Okay. Vav Anas. Okay, so here is a robber, a guy who forcibly took a field of somebody else, kicked him off his field, and now is having the benefit. And meanwhile, the Anas, as you might expect, doesn't really care much about halacha, and he started sowing foreign species into the field. Okay, and then finally they managed to get the guy off the property. Whether it was the guy left of his own accord doesn't matter. If they got legal action and drove him out, and whatever happened, he walked away and left a kerem that's filled with kilaya kerem. Okay. So now the owner is back, and he's like, and he's now mortified to find that he's got got all these foreign species in this massive vineyard. Now, how's he gonna deal with this? And it says kotzra afilu b'moed. Now, first of all, normally you're not allowed to do stuff like this during Chol Hamoed. But in this particular case, this is a tzorech gadol, and he has to start uprooting the stuff during Chol Hamoed. And now, in order to make sure that he gets this out quickly, ad kama hu nosein lepoanim? How much must he pay? Let's say we're on Chol Hamoed, and now he has to hire workers who don't really want to be working on Chol Hamoed, so your price is going to be up. And he's going to say, I need you to pull out my things. And they say, okay, we'll charge you extra for it. How much extra must he pay in order to get workers in to uproot the stuff on Chol Hamoed? Ad shlish, up to 50% more. There's another alternative. There's another interpretation of the Amoraim who say that actually this is talking about the value of the grapes. That how much does he have to pay to say, or the value of the vineyard? So he'd have to pay up to a third of the value of the vineyard in order to get it cleared. One way or another, there's a certain limit beyond which he does not have to pay. Yasemikan, if the workers won't take less than this limit, and he's they say that's not good enough for them, and he can't afford to pay them. Okay, Yasemikan kotzer kedaka v'holech. So then he says, I'm not using any workers. I'll do this myself. So he spends his own Chol Hamoed. He has to spend picking the things. He's going to be much, much slower, and he's not going to finish it. Afilu la'achar moed. Even if the work is going to take him until after Chol Hamoed, when he can get regularly priced workers. Me'emasai hu nikra anas misha yishka. So at what point is a person me'emasai hu nikra anas? In other words, from at what point does the vineyard get called the property of the bandit? So that the bandit now has got the ability to destroy the crops. We just learned in the previous Mishnah is that you can't destroy something that's not yours. Okay.
Right.
Now, if the guy comes and occupies the property and the owner is Misiaish, he gives up, he goes somewhere else because he just has no faith. There's no justice system to get the guy off the land, and he's given up. So at some point, this actually turns into more or less the property of the bandit. Not that if he had to come back a few years later with legal proof, and let's say the legal system was improved, they could chase him off. But at a certain point, we now have a situation where he's going Kilayim in here, and he actually can do damage. So so he has ownership to the extent that we say that a thief takes ownership of something with a shinoi, or a certain way he kind of gets ownership, so that he has to pay back value rather than the item itself. So when is the field called after the bandit? Misha Ishka. Basically, when it says when it sinks, in other words, when the name of the original owner is kind of sunk into the ground, and you no longer remember that it belonged to somebody else. So now that's the point at which we start treating the stuff inside this property as kilaya keren. All right.
Okay. All right. Dalab Hay. If one plants a row of 5 vines, Beit Shammai says it is a vineyard, but Beit Hillel said it's not a vineyard unless there are 2 rows. Therefore, if one sows within 4 cubits of a vineyard, Beit Shammai says it renders forbidden 1 row, but Beit Hillel says it renders forbidden 2 rows. If one, I think I made a mistake. All right, if one plants 2 opposite 2 and one projects like a tail, it is a vineyard. 2 opposites 2 and one between, or 2 opposite 2 and one in the middle. This is not a vineyard unless 2 are opposite 2 and one projects like a tail. Like the diagram. If one plants a row on his and 1 row in his neighbor's, and a private road or a public road is in the middle, or a fence lower than the handbreadth, they combine. Higher than 10, they do not combine. Rabbi Yehuda says if one intertwines them above, they combine. One more, but they started too early. If one plants 2 rows, if they are not 8 cubits between them, he may not bring seeds there. If there were 3, if they are not 16 cubits between 1 row and another, he may not bring seeds there. If Eliezer ben Yaakov says in the name of Hanina ben Hakanina, even if the middle one was laid waste, there are no 16 cubits between one row and the other. He may not bring seeds there, though if he had planted them from the first, it would be permitted with 8 abits. Okay. Okay. And we are on to Sukkah.
Paya.
Paya. Sukkah. It's coming later. Okay, Paya. Um, hey, one may not give the poor from the threshing floor less than a half a cob of wheat and a cob of barley. Rameya says half a cob and a half of spelt, and a cob of dried figs or a manna of fig cake. Rabbi Akiva says half a log of wine. Rabbi Akiva says 1/4 of oil. Rabbi Akiva says 1/8, and any other produce, Rabbi Shaul says sufficient to sell them and purchase for the food for 2 meals. And this measure applies to the priests, Levites, and Israelites. If he wants to save, he can take half and give half. If he had a small quantity, he places it before them, and they divide it among themselves. They do not give a poor person who wanders from place to place less than a loaf worth of punjim when 4 sides cost a seller. If he stays overnight, they give him a night's outfit. If he gains over the Shabbos, they give him food for 3 meals. He who has food for 2 meals may not take from the tamchun, and food for 14 meals he may not take from the kuppah. And the kuppah is collected by 2 and distributed by 3.
We'll finish this tomorrow and move on to Demai.
Okay. Okay. And we have Makshirin. If one found in the city a lost object, if a majority of the population are non-Jews, the finder is required to announce the find. But if a majority of the population are Jews, the finder is required to announce it. If the population is equally divided, the finder is required to announce it. And if one found in the city bread, we rule on the bread based on the identity of the majority of bakers. If it was bread made of fine flour, we rule on it based on the identity of the majority of those who bake with fine flour. Rabbi Yehuda says if it was black bread, we rule on it based on the identity of the majority of those who eat black bread. If one found in the city meat, we rule on the meat based on the identity of the majority of butchers. If the meat was cooked, we rule it on the basis of on the identity of majority of those who eat cooked meat. Regarding one who finds produce on the road, if the majority of people bring their produce into their houses, it is exempt from tithes. But if the majority take it to the sell in the market, it is obligated in tithes. If half bring it to their homes and half to the market, it is demai. Regarding a storeroom into which Jews and non-Jews place produce, if the majority is from non-Jews, it is definite tevel, and if the majority is from Jews, it is demai. Half is from non-Jews, half from Jews, it is definite tevel. These are the words of Rav Meir, but they come and say, even if they are all non-Jews, and a single Jew places produce in their storehouses, it's demai. Okay. And we go on to Kilayim. Gimel. A bin, a chest, and a closet that have had one of their legs broken off, even though they can still contain a tahor. And if they cannot contain in the usual manner, Rabbi Yosi rules them tameh. The poles of a bed is platform and its covering a tahor. The only tameh parts of a bed are the bed itself and the malbin. But the malbin the Levites are tahor. Regarding any malbin that was placed upon tongues, Reb Meir and Rabbi Yehuda ruled them tameh, but Rabbi Yossi and Rabbi Shimon ruled them tahor. Rabbi Yossi says, why is this different than the malbins of the Levites? These should be tahor, for the malbins of the Levites are tahor. Regarding a bed that was tameh, midrash, if a short board is removed along its 2 legs, it is tameh. If a long board is removed along 2 legs, it is tahor. Then the Chama rules it tameh. If one broke off 2 diagonally positioned tongues, if he broke off 2 diagonally positioned legs, or breaking off a handbreadth from one and a handbreadth from the other, and he lowered the bed to a height of less than a handbreadth, the bed is tahor. Regarding a bed that was tameh,
we're done there. Yeah. Sanhedrin.
Okay. Sanhedrin. Okay. Test. Hey. One who was flogged twice is placed by the court in a cell where he is fed barley until his stomach bursts. Someone who murders without witnesses to that effect is placed in a cell where he is fed spare bread and scant water. One who steals a service vessel blasphemies by supernatural force, or habitates with a Gentile woman, zealots may smite him. If a Kohen serves while Tomei, his brother Kohanim do not bring him to court, rather the young Kohanim remove him from the courtyard and split his skull with clubs. A non-Kohen who serves in the temple, Rebbe Kiva says he is executed by strangulation, but the Chachamim say he is by the hand of heaven. Um, sorry. All Israel shall in the world to come, as is stated, and your people are all righteous. They shall inherit the land forever. The branch of my plantings, the work of my hands, is to be glorified. These are the ones who have no share in the world to come. One who says there is no basis for the resurrection of the Torah. One who says the Torah is not from the Shem and an Apocorus. Rebbe Kiva says also one who reads external books, and one who whispers over a wound and says, all the diseases which I have placed upon Egypt, I shall not place upon you, because I am Hashem your healer. Abishol says also one who utters the name according to two letters. Three
Okay,
kings and four.
we're done. We're done. And
Oh, good time. Okay. And here we go. Sukkah.
Sukkah.
Okay. Daled Zion. No, that's wrong. Sorry.
Hey, Zion, yeah.
Hey.
Give
Okay.
up, give
Hey.
up, give up.
On the first Shem Tov of the festival, they were offered 13 bullocks, 2 rams, and 1 he-goat. There were 14 lambs left over for the Mishmaret, and on the first 6 Mishmaret, they would bring 2 each, and the rest each one each. On the second day, 5 brought 2 each, and the remaining Mishmaret 1 each. On the third day, 4 would bring 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fourth day, they would offer 2 each, and the rest 1 each. On the fifth day, they would bring 2, and the rest 1 each. On the sixth day, they would offer 2, and the rest 1. On the seventh day, all were equal. And on the eighth day, reverted to the casting of lots. And on the eve of Shabbos, 6 additional would be blown. That's wrong. I made a mistake. I'm sorry. Casting of lots as on the pilgrim festivals. They said, whoever brought bullocks today shall not bring them tomorrow, but they would take their turns in rotation. Here we go. At 3 festivals of the year, all the Mashmaya were equal. All the specified festival offerings and in the distribution of the showbread. On Azaret, they would say to him, here is matzah for you, and here is chametz for you. Mishmar, whose term was fixed, offered the daily sacrifices, vow offering, and freewill offerings, and the remaining public offerings. When a festival occurred next to Shabbos, either before or after, all the Mishmar shared equally in the distribution of the showbread. If one day intervened between them, the Mishmar, whose fixed turn it was, would take 10 loaves, and those remaining behind would take 2. On the remaining days of the year, the entering would take 6, and Mishmar leaving would take 6. And Yehuda says the entering would take 7, and the leaving would take 5. Those entering divide in the north, and those leaving in the south. Bilga would always divide in the south, and their ring was fixed, and their alcove was closed up.
Hadranallah, Masech is Sukkah, and tomorrow is Beitzah.
Beitzah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Have a great one. Enjoy. Okay. I'll speak tomorrow. Thank you. Bye.